Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sneha Nair and today we'll be starting off with Unit 3, Part A, Chemical Kinetics of Physical Chemistry, paper number 303. Now before beginning with, we have already discussed about the thermodynamics portion. You already know that thermodynamics is any such reactions which was generally used or any process which was generally used to indicate the feasibility of the reaction. But with the thermodynamic study, we were unable to understand whether the reaction would have taken place in what duration of time. So this problem was solved by a newer development of technique which was called as chemical kinetics. Now in this particular portion, we'll be focusing on two most important questions, which is called as the primary salt effect and the secondary salt effect. Now, if we talk about the primary salt effect and the secondary salt effect, we need to also know how do we find primary and secondary salt in any of the reaction. Now, for that, we need to understand that ionic reactions occur and that leads to the process or formation of salt effect. Now, what are ionic reaction? In any electrolytic solution, as it has been mentioned here, we know that ions will exert a considerable amount of electrostatic force on each other. Now, what will happening is we already know that electrolytic solutions are such solutions which contains ions, atoms, or molecule, and which will then generally conduct electricity. And what do you mean by electrostatic force of attraction? We already know that electrostatic force of attraction occurs because of the presence of different charges on the ions or atoms that you have taken into consideration. We know that if there are opposite charges present in any reaction or in any atom, we know that it is called as they will tend to attract, and if the same charges are present, they will tend to repel each other. So electrolytic solution, ion will have a considerable amount of electrostatic force on each other. And so what will happen is instead of a straight line, a deviation will occur in the reaction. If, for example, when we plot a graph, we wanted to obtain a straight line. But instead of a straight line, there can be a deviation in the positive direction or there can be a deviation in the negative direction. So this deviation then results uh, into the primary salt effect and into the secondary salt effect. Now, primary salt effect generally refers to the effect of ionic strength on the rate constant. Now, what is ionic strength? We already know that ionic strength is nothing but a measure of what? Concentration. Whatever in how much amount the ions are reacting with one another, the reactants are reacting in one another to result into the product is dependent on the ionic strength, while the secondary salt effect will depend on the actual change in the concentration of the reacting ion when we add electrolytes into it. There is some point of time we will add certain electrolytes into the solution. So while addition of that electrolyte, whether it will lead to any change into the ionic solution or not, that is indicated by the secondary salt effect. The primary salt effect was originally mathematically or theoretically derived by a scientist called as J.N. Cronstedt in the year 1922. But however, this was not able to give you a clear idea, so it was later on modified by Jerome in the year 1924. And whatever postulates now we are going to study is on the basis or on the theory given by Jerome. Now, what he postulated was that, for example, if I'm reacting two ions, here, for example, I'm reacting A ion, which is having a charge of Za. I'm reacting it with B, which is having a charge of Zb. Now, we already know that both the charges will be oppositely. Both the reactants will have opposite charge. They will not have the same charge. Now, the simplest way of understanding is, if, for example, in the case, I can take Na plus as A here. Na is having Za. According to Za, it is plus 1. And if I'm reacting it with obviously chlorine, so it is having what charge? It is having -1 charge. We know that. So this is the simplest way of understanding the reaction, but for simplicity purpose, we have taken into consideration A and B. So according to the modification that were done by Jerome in the year 1924, he suggested that, for example, if I'm taking a charge, a reactant, which is having some particular charge, and I'm reacting it with B, which is having another charge, which is obviously opposite in nature, they cannot directly form product. For the product formation to take place, they need to have an intermediate complex or they need to have a transition state to form. Now, if I consider about transition state, now what is called as transition state? To understand in a simplified manner, we already know that transition state is any state which will have a very transient existence, means the tendency to cross the energy barrier is very high. For example, if I say though both the reactants are combining and they are resulting into product formation, this is the highest maximum point which is formed for a reaction to take place is called as the transition state. If, for example, the energy of the reactants were low enough, they will slip back again to the reactant state. And if the energy is high, they will come back to the product state. So transition state are very unstable, is also considered to be a very unstable state. So this is called as either transition state or the intermediate state, or it is also considered as any state which is for a very shorter duration of time. So this we can see is AB, which is having both the charge now, ZA and as well as ZB. And then they will break down and they will result in the formation of a product. Now, for simplicity purpose in the entire reaction, I'll be considering AB as X for the activated complex. This is also considered as an activated complex. Now, for any rate of reaction to study any rate of reaction, we already know that the rate of reaction will depend on two most important criteria. A, it will depend on the equilibrium constant. The equilibrium constant is always and always given by what? Kx, as we have already mentioned in the equation. And then it will be a product of equilibrium constant and the product of, obviously, the concentration. Now, concentration in this case, I'm taking into consideration only the concentration of activated complex. Why only the concentration of activated complex? Because, like I discussed, the transition state will have a tendency if the whether the product has to be formed or they can directly slip back again to the reactant state. So the rate of reaction is the sum total or a product of equilibrium constant and the concentration of the activated complex. Now we already know that K, which is equilibrium constant, is dependent on what? AX. Here AX is nothing but the activity of the activated complex which is formed, and upon the activity of the reactant A and activity of the reactant B. Now activity is a sum total of activity. As we know, activity is denoted in chemistry as what? It is denoted as concentration into activity coefficient, which is F. So if I consider that activity is the concentration into activated activity coefficient, now this equation can be opened up and written in the form of concentration and activity coefficient. So while opening up and writing, the equation turns out to be K, which is equal to CXFX, CAFA, CBFB. We are not making any changes, we are just elaborating this equation in the form of C and F. So where A is the activity, C is the concentration, and F is the activity coefficient. Now, if I make the Cx, which is the concentration of the activated complex, as a subject of equation, I now know that what I'm doing, I'm just cross multiplying and taking this on the left hand side of the equation and this on the right hand side of the equation. So the equation turns out to be Cx is equal to K into Ca into Cb, Fa into Fb upon Fx. Now, what we can do is, we have already obtained the value of Cx. We can simply substitute this value of Cx into the above equation, which was rate of reaction, if you remember, was Kx into Cx. We can substitute the value of Cx in equation number 1, which turns out to be Kx into K. We are just rewriting the Cx equation again into this equation, Kx into K, Ca into Cb, Fa into Fb upon Fx. Now we already know that Kx into K, because again two equilibrium constants are present. So to simplify this equation, we're considering Kx into K as K0, so that we do not confuse with the equilibrium constants, Ca into Cb, Fa into Fb upon Fx. Now this is the rate of reaction for any complex which is forming an activated complex. But in some general scenario, if I consider a bimolecular reaction wherein A is reacting with B, and instead of forming an activated complex, it is directly resulting into the formation of product, what will happen is the rate of reaction can be directly written as K, Ca into Cb. Now we can see both of them are rate of reaction. This equation as well as this equation, both are rate of reaction. So I can equate both the equations as same form. So K0 Ca into Cb, Fa into Fb upon Fx is equal to K into Ca into Cb. Now we can see Ca and Cb are common on both the sides. So what we can do is we can nullify both of the part of concentration of A and concentration of B from the equation. So this equation turns out to be K is equal to K0, Fa into Fb upon fx. If I take log, what I can do is I can take this k0 on this side of the equation, which is on the left hand side of the equation. So this equation turns out to be k upon k0, fa into fb upon fx. And if we take the log of k upon k0 is equal to log of fa upon fa into fb upon fx, we already know that at one point, if I dilute the solution to an extreme level, what will happen is the activity coefficient of fa will be exactly equal to fb, which will be exactly equal to fab, which has been formed in the transition state. So that equals up to 1. So log of 1 we already know is 0. So log of k will be exactly equal to the value of log of k0. This entire equation is called as the primary salt effect, which was dependent only on the ionic strength of the reactions. And we already have discussed that ionic strength of the reactions are generally what it is a measure of the concentration change which is taking place, or measure of the concentration of the ions that are reacting for a reaction to take place. Now, if we, for example, we consider what is secondary salt effect. Now, secondary salt effect is nothing but when the actual concentration changes because of the some reasons, that results into the formation of a secondary salt effect into the reaction. Now, the secondary salt effect is generally occurring because if, for example, I'm adding NaCl and KCl, which are nothing but the neutral salts, if I add it into the water solution of any weak acids, what are weak acids? Anything which will not be able to completely get ionized. The simplest example of a weak acid is acetic acid that we can study. So, if I'm adding any neutral salts into the weak acid, what will happen is the calculated value of the ionic concentration, which should have been there, will change apparently. So what will happen is this will result into the change in the concentration of the ionic value which we obtain. So that results into what? A secondary salt effect. The simplest example is also if, for example, in an electrolytic solution, like we know, can easily get ionized into two different forms. If I'm adding a non-electrolytic solution, for example, sugar or glucose, which is one and the same, if I'm adding into it, what will happen is it will not get completely ionized. So that will result in the formation of a secondary salt effect. It can be mathematically explained with the help of if I'm taking HA, which is nothing but a weak acid, if I'm adding it in water, what will happen is it will result in the formation of hydronium ion, and A minus, which is the acid, will be released out. Now, hydronium ion we have already started is very unstable ion. So what will happen is if I'm calculating the equilibrium constant value, so K will be considered as activity of H3O plus into activity of A minus upon the activity of HA. Now, in this particular case, we will nullify the value of, or we will not mention the value of water activity. Why? Because it will not make any difference. Water is just considered as a solution which will be for a dilution purpose, or which will be just acting as a mother solution to occupy the acid into it. So Ka is also can also be written in the form of concentration and activity coefficient. So C of H3O plus into C of A minus, F of H3O plus into F of A minus upon C of HA into F of HA will take place. Now, if I take C of H3O plus into consideration as a subject of equation, now why C of H3O plus is taken into consideration? Because we already know that the hydronium ion is considered to be one of the most unstable ion in this entire equation. So hydronium ion, if I'm taking into consideration, so the equation will be somehow like C of H3O plus will be equal to K of CHA into FHA upon Ca minus FH3O minus into F of A minus. So the equation will automatically become upside down because we are cross multiplying the equation. So what will happen is the value of K of HA, if for example I take the value of K of HA into C of HA upon C of A minus as a constant K. So the new equation that is formed is K of H3O plus is equal to K of F of HA upon H3O plus into A minus. So this also indicates that the hydronium ion or the dissociated ion that has been formed will always and always depend on the medium or the activity coefficient values of the acids which was taken for dilution upon the activity coefficient of the hydronium ion and the activity coefficient of the A minus acid that was released in the product form. So this is the end of the first two very important topic, which is called as the primary salt effect and the secondary salt effect.